Alright, so running around in an empty room is exciting for a very brief amount of time, but I probably want something else to do. So why don't I see if I can have some sort of item that I can collect. So I'm going to go ahead and grab another sprite. Import from a picture. Oh, what do ghosts want? They probably want money. Let's add money into my game. I'm going to replace this sprite. I'm going to export it. And now I'm going to put it back into my game. So once again, I need to add this to my preloads. If you're doing this in processing, it's a little easier than this. And then I need to add another string, which is the money location. And then I need to actually create a money object as well. I may end up creating a bunch of these, so let's just create one for now, which is the starting money. Eventually, we'll want to create a whole bunch of these guys later on. All right, where should we put the starting money? Well, it'd be nice if we actually could randomize this in some ways. Let's do start money equals a new game object. I need to pick a random x direction, but the problem is I don't want to go into the walls, so I want it to actually go from 16 in for the x direction until, well, the width of whatever my game object is, plus an extra 16 for the wall over there. So I'm going to want a random number from 16 to my game width minus 16, and then however big this is. I think this is 32 big, so minus another 32. Let's just combine those two together, and we'll say minus 48. Now, I need to also make this an integer. It turns out this is a real number, which means it's got a full decimal to it. But if we're placing it on a particular spot on the screen, there's not like a 0.3 decimal of a pixel. Pixels are whole numbers only. So I've got to do an extra step here, where I make this an int, and I'm going to put parentheses around the whole random thing. So notice that you have two close parentheses here, which match this one and this one. Eventually, I'm going to need yet another one for this guy over here. So I'm going to need another set of these things for my height as well. So it's going to be from 16 down, so just below my top wall, to my game height minus 48. And I want to give it that same image that I talked about up here too, the starting money, the money location. There we go. Money! I don't know if you noticed, my ghost can run right over it, and nothing seems to happen with that. Money, 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 money. So what I'd like it to do is to actually destroy this thing so that I can actually collect it. So next, we're going to need to worry about collisions. So if I go down to the section that has collision, I'm going to need to do something here. So collisions have two objects, the object that just tried to move and the object that's not moving. Technically, these collisions were getting called when I was running into the walls, but I need to check to see if the thing that I'm running into is actually the money object instead. If the object that is moving is my object, so my avatar, then I need to check to see if the thing that was not moving is my start money. And if it is, let's destroy the start money. So then we'll destroy it. Boom! Moving two ends. Shame on me. Maybe I should spell things correctly. There we go. Notice that it looked like it was destroyed right away. That was because it spawned on top of me. Just happened to that time. Keep in mind that can happen. Random means random. That's exciting for one thing, and maybe I should give myself a score so that I actually am able to, keep track of how good I am. It won't be terribly exciting until I have more than one money in there, but, we'll get there eventually. The next thing I'd like to do is have a variable. It seems like an integer would make sense because it's going to be a whole number, which is going to keep track of my score. I'm going to start it out equal to 0, and every time that we run into one of these monies, I'm going to add 1 to score. So right after I destroy this thing, score plus equals 1. This is a shortcut for adding 1. Score plus plus would also work. Score equals score plus 1. All these 3 statements mean the same thing. Add 1 to score and make sure you save it off. Now, I can't see the score as part of my problem though, so it would be nice if I could actually draw my score onto the screen. So if I ever want to do anything where I'm drawing directly on the screen, that's going to happen in this draw event. This draw event is basically my loop that's constantly running, so anything that needs to be drawn gets drawn in here. So let's go into here, and after I've drawn all my objects, I'll draw my score on top of it. So to begin with, I'm going to want to change the colors of my brush and my fill. So if you think about the borders of something, that's the stroke, kind of your paintbrush, your pencil, whatever you want to think of it as. And then you're putting a color in here. 0 is black, 255 is white, and you have everything in between. If you give it 3 numbers, so if I do like 255, 0, 0, then it means the red, the green, and the blue amounts, 255 being the maximum. So if you want any of your full color range, you can put in the particular things with the red, the green, and the blue values. Since I'm just setting it to black, I'm just going to set it to 0. And I'm also going to do the same thing with the fill, which is it fills in between the borders with this color. And then I'm going to draw some text. And it's going to be score, and then I'm going to add on whatever's in my score variable. So you have to do it this way, where you add together the text and the variable, and then it'll convert them both to text and display it. And I will display it at 16 in, so it's not quite on the border, but just a little bit in. And I could do 16 down, but then it would be going off the bottom, so maybe 15 down. Let's take a look at that. All right, there's our score. If you don't like that position, you can always change it with those variables. Ooh, and I add 1 to my score. This is outstanding. What if I want to actually create more than one money? So it would be nice if I could somehow continually create a bunch of these money objects. Well, the money itself could get destroyed. I suppose I could put an alarm in my object, but that doesn't really make sense either. What happens if my object gets destroyed? So I'm going to create another game object, and his job is just going to be kind of running things in the game. The controller. This game object is going to keep track of alarms in particular, and make it so that I create more than one money object. The controller is going to be a new game object. You got to make sure you create it and put it in the room, but it's going to be at 0, 0, and have a width and height of 0, because I don't want it to interact in any way physically with any of the other objects. And then what I can do is I can set up an alarm. So I've set up code such that when you set an alarm, right here, it keeps track of how much time has passed since you set it, and once that alarm time goes off, once it reaches 0, it will run this alarm event right here. So I'm going to go ahead and say controller.setAlarm, and then I put how many milliseconds it takes. So I'm going to say 2 seconds, basically, 2,000 milliseconds. So at 2,000 milliseconds, this alarm event here is going to fire. What do I want to happen when that alarm event happens? Well, I probably just want it to create another one of those objects. There may be multiple things that have alarms, so I should probably check and make sure that the alarm object is my controller. And then I need to create a new money object. So I'm going to create a temporary one here. New money is a new game object. And actually, now that I think about it, it's just going to be exactly like the other money object, so I'm just going to go grab that code. All of this. Copy. Paste. Much better. And then I'm going to reset the controller's alarm. So what this is doing is it's basically creating a loop where every 2 seconds it does whatever this thing is. I should not say controller 2000, I should say set alarm 2000. There we go. There we go.